Hi everyone, my name is Randy Chan. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager for Harlequin Trade Publishing, and that is an umbrella of publishing imprints that is not on the romance side, but on the literary and commercial fiction, as well as select nonfiction titles. Some of our recent successes just in the past year include Rise Up by Reverend Al Sharpton, I love that guy, and 3 different Reese picks over the last 16 months, including The Last Story of Mina Lee by Nancy Juyun Kim, The Henna Artist by Alka Joshi, and The Cactus by Sarah Haywood. So I'm going to talk to you about 6 books. Very excited. We're going to start with The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This is one of our biggest novels of the year. It was acquired in a fierce auction and a fierce bidding war among all major publishers in North America. Think really big, majestic blockbusters in the category of, Erin Morgenstern, Jessie Burton's The Miniaturist, or even Kate Morton. So what is the hype about regarding The Lost Apothecary? One part of The Lost Apothecary is set in 1791, where a small secretive network of women visit a hidden apothecary in London, England. The apothecary is located in a back alley, has no storefront. You could stand in its doorway and not know it was there. But the women who visit there know where they're going, and they're there to retrieve poison dispensed from the secret apothecary. The women use this poison to kill the abusive men in their lives. The first rule of the apothecary is the poison must never be used to harm another woman. So that's the historical part of the novel. The second part of the novel is set in present day, where a woman vacationing in London, England, finds a glass vial that's been washed ashore from the Thames River. The vial has a mysterious bear claw logo on it, and when the woman starts to research further, combing through the archives of London, she unearths the story of the feminist serial killer who operated the Lost Apothecary. I get goosebumps just talking and thinking about this book. How the 2 strands come together is really amazing. We've been living and working with this book for a year now, and I really can't wait for more and more readers to discover The Lost Apothecary. My second book is The Girl from the Channel Islands by Jenny LeCote, and it's so great to see World War II fiction alive and well still. I think some of the best examples in this category are inspired by real-life events and personal events to the author. And The Girl from the Channel Islands checks off all those boxes. So as you know, the Channel Islands are very close to the northern coast of France, but they're part of the British Isles. And one of the Channel Islands is called Jersey. So this is the story of Hetty, a Jewish girl who in 1938 arrives in Jersey trying to escape the Nazi invasion of her home country of Austria. She thinks Jersey will provide a safe haven, but in fact in June of 1940, the Nazis invaded there, along with the other islands, including Guernsey, which was the backdrop of the Guernsey Potato Peel and Literary Society. The author, Jenny LeCote, was born in Jersey, and the story was inspired by her grandparents who were involved in the resistance. In fact, her grandfather would build illegal radios which enabled the small community to stay in touch with what was happening in the outside world. The story is very rich in family history. It's a very personal story for the author, and we already have a raft of blurbs from New York Times bestseller Kelly Rimmer, who wrote The Things We Cannot Say, Karen Robards, who wrote The Black Swan of Paris, and Noelle Salazar, who wrote The Flight Girls. I think this was one to watch. And our third book is The Jigsaw Man by Nadine Matheson. I think some of you may have seen this book featured recently on Shelf Awareness's Galley Love of the Week. It's gaining a lot of steam. So if you like gritty crime dramas, especially ones set in the UK, like I do, then this one is for you. So think The Silence of the Lambs meets Happy Valley or Broadchurch, with a little bit of My Sister the Serial Killer thrown in there. This is an Own Voices novel featuring the Jigsaw Killer, whose signature is to arrange his victims' limbs in puzzle pieces. The Jigsaw Killer has been in jail for 2 years now, and yet more and more bodies are piling up in exactly the same manner, limbs arranged in puzzle pieces. So that means somewhere out on the gritty streets of London, there is a copycat killer on the loose. The author, Nadine Matheson, has drawn on her experiences as a criminal defense attorney, and this is one of the best crime novels I've read in a long time, seriously. The next book is called Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. It's an Own Voices debut. We're publishing in trade original format, and Honey Girl is sexy. It's about a young Black woman who is very straight-laced, but she goes to Las Vegas for the weekend, and she wakes up married to a woman she doesn't even know. Cue the chaos, the romance, and the fun. It is a fun read, and it's about being young and making mistakes, but I would say that it has deeper layers about racism, class, and privilege, and I think it sits somewhere between Queenie, which we all loved, and the fun of Red, White, and Royal Blue. I think this is a book for millennials and Gen Y. Talk about momentum. BuzzFeed included it in a roundup of the LGBTQ books to read. Bitch Media has reached out for profiles. Oprah Magazine has asked for a galley. I saw Morgan recently at the library conference, Day of Dialogue, and she was a standout in her author panel. This one is definitely one to watch. And the next book is J.T. Ellison's Her Dark Lies. I love J.T. I think pound for pound, she is as good a thriller writer as Lucy Foley, Ruth Ware, Sherry LaPena. If you've ever read J.T. Ellison's Lie to Me, which came out in 2017, it's one of my favorites. But with Her Dark Lies, she has outdone herself. So who doesn't love a destination wedding? Particularly one set on Isle Isola, which is off the Italian coast. It's beautiful. Except that from the moment Claire sets foot on the island for her wedding, things run amok. Skeletal remains have just been found. Claire starts to receive menacing texts from an unidentified number, someone who clearly knows about her and her husband. And then someone ruins her wedding dress by writing a threatening note on the dress in blood. And then something else happens. A storm knocks all the power out on the island, and that's when the real terror begins. Our publishing group recently did a book club with this book. We read it, we discussed it as a group. We had so much fun. It was haunting, fast-paced, and once the bodies start piling up, we just couldn't stop reading. And my last book is The Vineyard at Painted Moon by Susan Mallory. On sale February 9th. Susan Mallory needs no introduction. She's a #1 New York Times bestseller, beloved by millions of readers around the world. And this tells the emotional and heartfelt story of a woman who must rebuild her life after a painful divorce. She rebuilds it through friendships and wine. Set in a vineyard, featuring characters you like and root for, what's not to love? So thank you very much for listening. I can't wait for you to read all of these amazing books that I'm so proud to work on.